Hello, this is Bible Reviews, Aussie style. My name's Stephen. Now, we're all pretty familiar with the King James Version, the KJV, been around for around 400 years. But did you know that on the King James Version store, the KJV Store, they have a new Bible coming out on 1st of December this year called the Reader's Edition Bible with Sacred Syntax. And I thought it would be expedient if we went to their website and run through what this new Bible is all about, just to save you the time of going there yourself and having a look. Let's just check out this Bible. Let's check out the website together. So here we are on the KJV Store page, and straight up they have it, the King James Version Store Reader's Edition Bible with Sacred Syntax. They're selling it on special for $199.95. It says here the number of pages is 1,974, 11-point font size, and words of Christ are in red, as you would expect. And on the left here we have some of the shots that they have, which we'll go through shortly. So we run down, and you can pre-order now. They're expecting it on the 1st of December, as I said, possibly earlier. Now, they do have a rather interesting rundown on this video here on the left, the KJV Reader's Edition, where they talk together with the different publishers and the people who actually made and designed this particular Bible. And I'll include this video at the end of this particular video, and you can watch it here together. So a description of it talks about taking pre-orders. And it says here that the King James Reader's Edition Bible with the Sacred Syntax solves a 400-year-old dilemma by applying the most poetic setting and visual system to the world's most poetic biblical language, the text of the King James Bible. The King James Version has long been considered the most poetic English Bible translation, yet it has historically appeared in the least poetic layout and presentation on the page. The KJV Store Reader's Edition Bible with Sacred Syntax seeks to present the majestic language of the KJV in a way that highlights its natural beauty. This includes several special formats with visual cues designed to help the distracted reader. These special formats help the reader identify the various types of content, keep the page from becoming a sea of text, and this patented system, notice it's patented, of special formatting designed specifically for reading in the KJV Reader's Edition is known as Sacred Syntax. So their term for Sacred Syntax is something that the KJV Store and designers of it have come up for themselves. So the Sacred Syntax is a harmonious mix of scriptures, poetic indents, numbered lists, parables, arrowed endings that capture the heart of prayer and prophecy. Finding what sacred means, it means that it's connected with God and dedicated to a religious purpose. Syntax, it means that it's the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in language and a set of rules for an analysis of language. And therefore the Sacred Syntax, it connects the reader to God through the special formatting of his word, and Reader's Edition's poetic settings merely scratches the surface of the spiritual treasures for which the reader will be edified. So the Sacred Syntax special formatting and visual clues include verse numbers. And what they've done here is that they've taken, instead of putting the numbers at the beginning of each verse, they have included them down the left-hand side, as you can see here. And where a verse starts partway into the paragraph, they have left an extra space, which we have identified here with rings around them. But you can identify verse 11 starts where that extra space is. Verse 12 starts right across here where that particular space is. And so it gives you a flow of the words without actually interrupting them with verse numbers. And it talks about having drop capital letters. Drop caps adorn, a bit like going back to some of the old Bibles that we've done previously. The drop caps adorn the first word of each chapter. And in the first line of poetry, it drops down 3 lines, as you can see here. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Just remember that this KJV Reader's Edition, it's still the King James Version. They have not changed the text. They have not done any retranslation. They have just changed the format. And then on all other lines, for example, the 7th day, Genesis, we have it dropping down 4 lines. Thus, the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. So there's quite a pretty pattern here for each of the first letters. Section headings. Headings identify the main point of a section. They are not part of the text, only meant for informational purposes. I think most of us will be familiar with a lot of Bibles that have like little subheadings which tell you about, the raising of Lazarus or the birth of Jesus, etc. And we have black text, which are black in large print, identify major sections. And then we have red ones down here, which headings are in red or smaller print, identify minor sections within the larger sections. Then we have page information. So page numbers, book names, chapter numbers appear at the bottom of the page. It is meant to reflect the beautiful artwork that is the Bible, with the artist's name and artwork's title presented at the bottom of each page. And so it has here that light has sprung up. From that time Jesus began to preach and to say, notice the words of Jesus in red, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And then they have here Matthew 3:4, 15, 25. And so we have the red letters, as I said earlier, which are the words of Jesus. Surely I say unto you this parable, physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in thy country. And then they have a thing called special formats. And just like the original King James Version, this edition was designed with public reading in mind. In other words, from the front of the church or from a Bible study group. To aid in this reading, we have intentionally identified compelling types of text that should stand out apart in Scripture, including Old Testament and New Testament quotes. For example, all quotes are in semi-bold type, and they include phrases in the Old Testament that are quoted in the New Testament, and then phrases in the New Testament that are quoted from the Old Testament. This lets the reader see, without actually having like links to the bottom of the page, how both testaments are interlinked and how they reference each other as Scripture frequently, which supports the belief that the Bible is one unified text made up of 66 individual books. As you can see here, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, etc., is in bold. And as you can see, it is a quote which has been taken from the Old Testament, and yet it is included in the Gospels. And then we have poetry. Poetry is indented by 12 millimeters and has a ragged right edge. Poetry does not wrap to the next line, where possibly poetry is broken into lines that are meant to be read aloud. In other words, the Lord will hear when I call unto him. Stand in awe and sin not. Commune with your own heart upon your bed, and be still, Selah, etc. It has lists, which are indicated by the letter Li, and lists are indented 6 millimeters. If they are wrapped to the second line, they are indented another 6 millimeters, and the ragged lines are balanced and the lists are labelled with Li. For example, the genealogy of Jesus, I believe in Matthew. They have the large first letter, the book of the generations of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac, Isaac begat Jacob, Jacob begat Judas, etc. And over here on this side, we see that we have an Li beginning in verse 2, a list. And then we have personal letters, Le, and these letters written from one person to another. They are indented 3 millimeters and have a ragged right edge, and they are labelled with Le. For example, down here we have him talking about Judas, surnamed Barnabas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren, and they wrote letters by them after this manner. And have here Le, which is a personal letter. The apostles and elders and brethren send greetings unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles in Antioch and Syria and Cilicia. And that is the letter itself, which has been indented. And we have prayer, PR. Prayers are indented 6 millimeters from both sides and have a ragged right edge. Only the actual prayers are formatted, ones which have been said. And so he says here, all the bowels of Jesus Christ, and this I pray. And then you have a PR, prayer, that your love may abound yet more and more in knowledge and in all judgment, etc. And so we have the indentation of the prayer, making it stand out from the rest of the passage. We have parables with the letters PA, and parables are indented 9 millimeters from the right and are justified. For example, we have here PA, parable of the vineyard. First letter again, he began to speak unto them by parables. And so we have a PA, a certain man planted in a vineyard. So you can see straight away, it's not just Jesus talking, quoting something or giving teaching, but in here it is actual a parable that he is referring to, and therefore it has a PA. And then dreams. Dreams are indented 6 millimeters from both sides and centered. This produces a cloud design. We've only formatted the dreams that show details rather than just the mention of a dream, and they are labeled DR. In other words, it says here, his mother and fell down and worshipped him, and when they'd opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And then we have a reference to a dream which has been indented, and being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod. Goes back to the passage there. So you can see that straight away with the DR over here, it's referring to an actual dream that Joseph had. Visions, VI. Visions are indented with 3 millimeters for the first line, 6 millimeters from both sides and justified. It says here that we took liberties with visions. For example, most of Revelation is a vision, but if we marked all of it, then the prayers, lists and poetry wouldn't stand out. We thought it was best to focus on formats that stood out and mark visions where we could. Visions are labelled with VI. In other words, if wicked counsel, for example, moreover, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me into the east gate of the Lord's house, which looks eastward, and they have a letter here, VI, under the number of letter, which in other words is talking about John, looking at the whole thing is a vision at that time. The end of each book, it tapers, like arrowhead book endings. Each book of the Bible ends with an arrowhead design that tapers to a point. For example, in Genesis, Joseph's last days, and we have the verses here talking 22, 25, and as it gets to 25, it starts to taper in. We have a subheading, the death of Joseph, and we have the last verse, Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. It's sort of like it finalizes the chapter, doesn't it? And they have a little thing at the end here as well. So, the Reader's Edition Dream Team. The KJV Store Reader's Edition with syntax, sacred syntax, was conceptually designed and edited by Randy A. Brown of the Bible Buying Guide. The text was expertly typeset and crafted in Denmark by award-winning designer firm 2K/Denmark. Proofreading and editoring services were provided by Peachtree Publishing Services. And the finished product was printed and bound in the Netherlands by the expert craftsmen and women at the Royal Jombloid, I'm not sure how to say that, considered by many to be the finest Bible bindery in the world. And lastly, the final King James Version textual approval was given to Len Williams, who is the founder and president of the KJV Store, in an attempt to provide the most accurate KJV text ever published. The result is a Bible designed not just to be read, but to be lived with, a reflection of the KJV's timeless authority through a cutting-edge design that supports both readability and devotion. And we have here some reviews from Randy Brown, communicates to the reader that not everything is the same. Klaus Kroch says that we are born talkers, we are born listeners, but we are not born readers, etc. And then runs down through the fact that it's goatskin leather, published in the KJV Store. And then basically it just runs down then some of the Bible features about the leather, the overlay, the raised hubs on the spines, etc. There's 3, not just 1, but 3 red ribbon markers, large print size, etc. paragraphs, words of Christ in red, etc., etc. And then they have features which we just went through then, or simplified down that side there. So that was a quick run through of what the KJV Store Reader's Edition with Sacred Syntax is all about. And as I said earlier, it's due to come out on December the 1st. It may have come out earlier, but you can pre-order at that discounted rate. At the moment, I believe it is only available in America, but I'm sure that it will soon be available in other Christian bookstores around the world. So if you're interested, do yourself a favor, go to the website and order yourself a copy. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. As I said, sit back now and listen to the video that they have put together themselves. And I hope if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and share so more people may see it. And until next time, God bless.
I still feel like that there's a lot of life left in the King James for people that will give it a chance. With it being the most poetic, the most recognized, especially when read aloud, the fact that it was to be read in churches, it's designed specifically for public reading. I really wanted, just like Nicodemus in John 3, I wanted the KJV to be born again with this Reader's Edition Bible. So this is a project that's actually almost 3 years in the making now. We wanted to also make something that didn't change the text. We felt that there was a need for a new King James Bible, making something that's not only visually stunning, that stands apart, but a very simple system. That's where the sacred syntax comes into play, that system, because it's just simply highlighting the unique features. You've got your Old Testament and New Testament quotes. Of course, there are decorative items like drop capital letters, so it's visually inviting, but it's ultimately about getting people to just sit and read and meditate in the Word, not chase cross-references, not read opinion or commentary at the bottom of the page, just focus on the reading. I believe we truly have an all-star team. The process of working together globally, it's been fantastic. It's been a ton of collaboration, a lot of back and forth.
I've always felt that the King James was the most poetic translation, but it doesn't look poetic on the page. It has the least poetic layout. We have poetry, we have prose, we have lists, we have letters that one person wrote to another. We have different types of information in the Bible. Not everything is exactly the same. We have parables, we have prayers. I wanted to present the Bible as if it was more than just text on a page. So I wanted to draw you and for you to know it's sacred.
Once we saw the Monarcha font and that Klaus's design, I just knew we had to have it. I knew we had the makings of what could be a great King James Bible.
You have to have a design, you have to have a typesetting. These beautiful letters help you to decipher and the meaning of the text and put it near your heart. In this case, it's a Bible, so that's where it belongs. Type design in a Bible actually gives you might say, the sound of the book. So you might say, 2K Denmark, designing typefaces for Bibles, we designed the sound of the voice of God.
You have, of course, the lumber, then you have the pulp production, then you have the mill in France that makes the paper, but that's just the paper. You can say the same thing from the letter perspective. The whole process has to come together in the Netherlands. Even the reading ribbons are sourced from all over the world to find the highest quality materials. The luxury department within Youngblood, that's a department where we do a lot of craftsmanship. Reading ribbons has to be put in by hand, have to turn in a certain degree. There is a lot of steps that has to be taken to take it to a certain level. One major thing we try to add to a Bible is that it should not distract while reading. It should add to the experience.
Even the packaging, we want all of that to be worthy of the Lord, worthy of the quality of the King James Bible that we're producing, and ultimately worthy of when our customer gets this in our hand, that they truly go, wow, and they are, once again, they are drawn in to this Bible, and that they just won't be able to put it down.